your pain will be endless.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Path of Exile, and in today's content we are doing some sort of a victory lap with the champion. So let me explain. The original plan for this character was to play as an elementalist, Fist Conversion Cyclone with the Saviour. That was bad. It was utter crap and I do not recommend doing that. So instead, I decided to respec the Split Arrow Champion into this ungodly, unethical display of filth. And you'll see what I mean once we jump into the gameplay portion of the video. So if you're new around here, be sure to hit that subscribe button and join us on the channel. Otherwise, a rating and a comment helps spread the content to the masses. Now, if you want to skip the commentary portion and check out the gameplay, you can do so by following the timestamp on screen right now, or in the comments below, or in the description, or the divisions to the video that YouTube does nowadays. With that said, let's actually talk about the character, and he is a level 97 champion, because the last time we saw him he was level 96 and I was able to push to 97 thanks to the respecking of his overall build. Now you don't need to push to 97, I think that at 94, 95 you should be able to complete the character with similar HP values and DPS. It's just that pushing to that is for flexing reasons or something like that. So yeah, weapons, we're using the Saviour because it is cheap, because it is still pretty good, and also because while rare weapons may be able to outclass it, it is when we have the clones that we are able to outgun every other option that we could be using instead, which is why I decided to use the Saviour. And at the end of the day, I haven't tried Cyclone with the Saviour. We did a couple of Saviour builds in the last league, and this is the first time we used this Saviour in this league, and with the changes to dual wielding and certain things feeling clunkier than the last time, I decided to use something a little bit more flexible, which is why we're doing Cyclone. I know that not a lot of you guys like Cyclone, some of you actually despise it for some godawful reason, but I decided to build with Cyclone, and if you don't like that, let me know that reason in the comments. Anyways, whenever you play with the Saviour, you normally pair it with the Paradoxica. I am not using a Paradoxica because I do not have that much dexterity, since I am not building in the dexterity side of the tree. And since we do not have that much dexterity, we need a weapon that requires less dexterity in order to be equipped, which is why this is an Apex Rapier. However, my sword is a 450 physical DPS Rapier, which means that I think we've got enough DPS to rival that of a Paradoxica in this weapon, which is why at the end of the day it isn't that bad to not use Paradoxica. Besides that, we're not pushing for more dexterity because we need a lot of intelligence in order to use the Arcane Cloak setup with Blood Magic and Empowered. At level 20, Arcane Cloak requires 155, and with that setup we get Adrenaline with a single tap, which is always good. Moving on to the rest of the gear, we're using a Crown of the Inward Eye with Cyclone attack speed as an enchantment, alongside increased maximum life, mana and global energy shield on its maximum roll, because I got this helmet for cheap as it had terrible rolls, and through the use of a couple of Divine Orbs I was able to hit the maximum one. I know that not everyone is gonna be able to do that, so instead you can use a rare helmet with life, accuracy, resistances, and if possible Elder Influence for the conk effect, and area damage global modifier thingy that spawns on Elder helmets, or maybe the nearby enemies take increased fist damage suffix. Besides that, we're using a couple of gear pieces from the last build, for example the Astral Plate with 6 white sockets, life, chaos res, frenzy charge on hit, and enemies you kill explode. I invested into this early on in the build and it has gotten a lot of mileage, and it will probably get featured on other build videos that I do in the future, which is why I'm still cramming it into as many builds as possible. The ring and the amulet have channeling skills, have -3 total mana cost of skills, and they are the same ones as the last build. The ring has fist damage to attacks, global accuracy, global crit multi, life and vulnerability on hit alongside some resistances as implicits. The amulet has intelligence as an implicit, fist damage to attacks, crit chance, life, resistances, and we allocate Fatal Blade for the crit chance and crit multi with swords. The other ring is a circle of guild with attributes and global feast as an implicit, or as implicit in this case, because we want to get as many attributes in order to satisfy that intelligence and dexterity requirements that we've got from the sword and arcane cloak. And at the same time, this circle of guild has Herald of Purity buff effect and feast damage while affected by Herald of Purity. The globes are Warlord influenced globes with increased melee damage, accuracy, resistances and life. Mine have increased armor, which is occupying the spot for more life, which means that if you wanna get something similar, you should totally push for more life. Besides that, melee damage is nice, but a maximum frenzy charge is better in the long run, so if you can do that, that'd be optimal. The belt is the same belt as the last build, but instead of having projectile attack damage during any flask effect, it has melee damage, and we achieve that by recrafting the attack modifiers on the Guardian using a remove attack, add a new attack, and got melee damage during any flask effect. If you can get attack speed instead of melee damage, that is also pretty good, but besides that we want global feast damage, life, increased life, and resistances. These guys go for rather expensive amounts of exiles on trade, which means you should probably craft your own. The jewel on the belt has dexterity, life, and a resist that I required. The boots on the other hand are also crafted, and they've got tailwind, movement speed, a lot of life, resistances, and are two-toned boots. Something similar is gonna be a little bit expensive, which is why I also recommend that you craft them yourself. You know, for those senses of pride and accomplishment, or something like that. For flasks, we use a diamond flask, a lion's roar, a silver flask for DPS, and quicksilver and a life flask. You can replace the silver flask for a bottle faith if you've got it, and that's gonna give you even more damage than the poor silver flask does. For the skill tree portion, we're no longer using Fortitude because we've got Fortify on the gem setup, and instead taking Inspirational for the free banner mana reservation. We're also gonna be using two large cluster jewels, one of which has Intelligence, Furious Assault, Exploit Weakness, and Master the Fundamentals. Try to get Intelligence, Resistances, or Dexterity on the available spots on your cluster jewels just to min-max even further and reduce the overall cost of the rest of the gear on your character. Now, we want 3 notables on this so that we can skip using Furious Assault and instead use Exploit Weakness and Master the Fundamentals and only use 5 points in the large cluster jewel and avoid this notable completely. Because of that, we use 2 medium cluster jewels, one of which has Dexterity, Cold Rest, Basics of Pain, and Quick Getaway, and the other one has Exploit Weakness, Evil Eye, and Cold Resistance with Dexterity. The other large cluster jewel setup has Dexterity, Drive the Destruction, Fuel the Fight, and Smite the Weak. Drive the Destruction and Smite the Weak work in tandem because Smite the Weak gives you attack damage against maimed enemies, and both Smite the Weak and Drive the Destruction give you chance to maim on hit. Since we've got something like 20 attacks per second, that means that we're gonna be maiming enemies relatively often, and we're gonna be basking on that increased attack damage against maimed enemies rather often. And again, we're only using 5 points into this large cluster jewel and avoiding Fuel the Fight completely. The other medium cluster jewels are actually the same ones as the last large cluster one, and they've got Exploit Weakness, Evil Eye, and Resistances and Attributes, and the other one has Basics of Pain and Quick Getaway alongside Attributes and Chaos Resistance. For jewels on the tree, the only different one is a Watcher's Eye with Crit Multi and Life, well, Crit Multi with Precision rather, and Life. And the other jewels have, some of them have Crit Multi with Life, Global Feast, others have Attributes, Global Freeze, or Crit Chance with Life, so mix and match, try to maximize the slots on these guys in order to satisfy those attribute requirements. Finally, for important things on the tree, we're using a Lethal Pride that's gonna replace Iron Grip for Chainbreaker, but this Lethal Pride is important because mine has 16,448 warriors under Akoya, and that is specific because if you check out the POV of my character, you're gonna realize that I'm missing 20 fire resistance. That is because these Watchers, or rather this Lethal Pride, is giving me fire resistance under Golem's Blood, alongside some melee crit chance and some irrelevant stuff such as attack damage leached as life. Your Lethal Pride roll matters, so make sure you get one that complements your build besides changing Iron Grip for Chainbreaker. And that rage only has a use during single target, and that is to trigger Berserk during those single target encounters. So to wrap this up, finally, I keep making mistakes because I've recorded this like 10 times already, and this is like the smoothest one so far. But yeah, for gem setups, we're using Cyclone linked to Impale, Brutality, Fortify, Close Combat, and Awakened Melee because Awakened Melee has 10% chance to intimidate enemies for 4 seconds on hit, and since we attack with something like 20 attacks per second, that means that Intimidate is also gonna be up most of the time. I know it doesn't work like that, but that's the way I wanna see it, so damn it, I'm not gonna change my stance on that. We also use Arcane Cloak level 20, linked to Empower, and Blood Magic for that free Adrenaline. For auras, we use Blood and Sand, Herald of Purity, and Pride linked to Enlighten. On the gloves, we've got Ancestral Warchief, Baal Ancestral Warchief, Ancestral Protector, Dread Banner, and all of them are linked to Empower. Dread Banner reserves no mana thanks to Inspirational, and thanks to Empower, it doesn't get to reserve any additional mana whatsoever. We also use Berserk, Summonize Golem, a low level precision for the crit multi from the Watcher's Eye, and finally Enduring Cry and Dash linked to Second Wind. And that's gonna be it for this character, and that's also gonna be it for duelists in a little while in this channel, because this pretty much wraps up the fact that I keep playing with duelists. My tongue keeps tongue twisting and it keeps ruining commentaries, but yeah. With all of that being said, I'm actually gonna leave you guys with the gameplay. Hopefully this isn't as long, or I'll have to record it again. So yeah. With all of that being said, if you enjoyed this portion, if you enjoyed the gameplay, be sure to hit that subscribe button, join us on the channel, leave a rating, a comment, and help spread the content to the masses. Thank you so much for watching, have a nice weekend, and I'll catch you on the next video. Peace out.
What's this? A real challenge? You've finally caught my attention.
This city is nothing! Fury of the cosmos!
The others found strength in their projections. They became reliant on them. I am not so foolish.
Beyond, there is only horror.
Be silent. Die.
This city is nothing! You are nothing! nothing.
Is life really interesting enough to warrant all this pain? Die.
Why run? What's the point? Fury of the cosmos. Rain of stars.
On the edge of death, my heart races. I am alive.
Everlasting fire.
Valdo had some ingenious designs hidden in his memories. Observe! Rayclass needs me! Valdo's designs were flawed. Do you remember dying here? You will. Feel the pull of the void! I will crush you! What are you? In this, the realm of the past, I am king, and you will bow! This one is my own creation. Light of salvation! Rayclass need... Ha! Plenty more where that came from. Face your destruction!